Urologist, masturbation secrets old men wish they knew sooner, Shi Heng Yi. Urologist, masturbation, secrets old men wish they knew sooner. Nobody taught you this. The breath, the rhythm, the recovery all matter. It's the difference between feeling drained or powerful. These ancient secrets rebuild your body from the inside out. Final tip, it's what keeps your youth alive. Stay to the end, your strength depends on it. Essence over act, we begin our shared contemplative journey by directing our focused attention towards a foundational principle, a truth so fundamental that its misunderstanding often lies at the root of much later life depletion and regret. It is the profound recognition that what is often referred to in purely biological terms, what is exchanged or released in moments of intense personal experience, even in the solitude of self-communion, is infinitely more than a mere physical substance, vastly transcending the notion of a simple biological fluid that the body can mechanically and endlessly replenish without deeper energetic consequence or subtle spiritual resonance. Imagine, if you will, with a quiet and receptive mind, a deep, primordial wellspring residing within the very sanctum of your being, a sacred inner reservoir not merely of immediate physical potential or procreative capacity, but of your quintessential life force itself, that intrinsic animating vitality which fuels your thoughts with lucidity and precision, sparks your creative endeavors with inspiration, warms your spirit with unwavering resilience, and lends enduring strength, flexibility, and radiant health to your physical form. This is not, by any means, something to be casually, thoughtlessly, or compulsively dispensed, like drawing water from an ever-flowing, seemingly inexhaustible external tap. Instead, it is far more accurately likened to a potent, almost alchemical elixir, a highly concentrated distillation of your most profound generative power, an essence so precious that, when wisely conserved, mindfully cultivated, and respectfully directed, it supports not only the immediate robustness of your limbs and the sustained clarity of your mind, but also the profound depth of your emotional stability and equilibrium, the unwavering brightness and penetration of your inner gaze, and that subtle, almost palpable radiance that others may intuitively sense in your presence, a hallmark of true inner vitality. When this elemental, often hidden truth is overlooked or dismissed, when this precious energy is expended without conscious awareness, without a deep and abiding reverence for its sacred origins and its higher, life-affirming purpose, a slow, almost imperceptible, yet deeply significant process of depletion can insidiously begin its work. It may manifest itself initially as a subtle, nagging, and persistent weariness that even extended periods of deep sleep do not fully dispel. Perhaps it shows as a slight but noticeable dulling of the senses, a blunting of life's vibrant edges, a persistent feeling of being perpetually stretched thin and energetically overdrawn, or maybe a mind that wanders more easily than before, struggling to maintain its focus, its anchor, and its presence in the here and now. Over more extended periods, this gradual, often unacknowledged internal erosion can lead to a more pronounced and pervasive sense of diminished vigor, a spirit that feels prematurely aged, burdened, and perhaps even cynical, or a creative wellspring that seems to have run disappointingly and irrevocably dry, leaving behind a barren landscape of untapped potential and unfulfilled aspirations. The profound regret that so often accompanies this later life realization is not merely about a perceived loss of youthful physical prowess, sexual stamina, or fleeting attractiveness. It is a far deeper, more poignant, and soul-searching sorrow for the squandered potential for sustained, vibrant aliveness, for the radiant vitality that could have been carefully nurtured and joyfully maintained throughout all of life's seasons, for the inner richness, resilience, and wisdom that was unknowingly, often carelessly, traded for ephemeral sensations, momentary releases from tension, or the pursuit of fleeting, superficial pleasures. The true secret, then, the timeless wisdom that older generations, looking back with the undeniable clarity of hindsight and lived experience, earnestly wish they had not only understood but deeply embodied in the very bloom of their youth, is the profound, unwavering, and embodied recognition of this generative energy's precious, almost sacred, and ultimately irreplaceable nature. It is an understanding that courageously transcends the purely mechanical, the strictly biological, the merely instinctual, urging us to perceive and engage with the intricate, harmonious, and sacred dance between body, mind, and spirit. It illuminates how our choices, especially in this most intimate and energetically potent sphere of human experience, ripple outward, subtly yet powerfully affecting the entirety of our being, the quality of our relationships, and the fundamental trajectory of our journey through the vast tapestry of life. To learn to truly sense this subtle yet powerful energy within, to genuinely honor its presence and its wisdom, and to consciously become a responsible, loving steward of its flow and its expression, is to unlock a deeper dimension of authentic self-mastery, genuine personal power, and sustained, vibrant well-being that can illuminate and enrich all of one's days, regardless of external circumstances. This understanding is not rooted in fear, shame, or unnecessary, life-denying restriction, but rather in informed reverence, intelligent discernment, and the patient, lifelong cultivation of an inner wealth that, like a wisely invested and carefully tended treasure, compounds and appreciates over a lifetime, rather than diminishing with each passing year or decade. The body, in its profound and inherent wisdom, constantly offers its subtle signals, its gentle communications, its intuitive guidance, and these are there to be clearly understood if only we learn to listen with a new kind of refined, receptive attention. An attention that consistently values essence over fleeting impulse, enduring sustainability over short-lived gratification, and profound inner connection and harmony over superficial engagement or external validation. This is the very first and perhaps most crucial cornerstone of a life lived with conscious power, deep fulfillment, and lasting peace. Mind Guides Flow. Let us now gently yet purposefully turn our focused awareness, our inner investigative lens, towards the subtle yet immensely powerful and often critically underestimated architect of our entire inner world, the mind. The mind is the very medium through which we perceive, interpret, and ultimately co-create our experience of reality. It is a remarkably common, almost pervasive assumption within many contemporary perspectives that certain bodily experiences, particularly those of an intimate and instinctual nature, are purely physical phenomena, driven solely and inexorably by raw instinct, by immutable biological imperatives, or by fluctuating hormonal tides alone, operating almost as if on autopilot, largely independent of our conscious thought processes, intentions, or emotional states. Yet, the ancient wisdom traditions, those deep and resonant wells of human understanding, meticulously refined and passed down through millennia of contemplative practice and keen observation, as well as an increasingly nuanced and sophisticated modern scientific understanding of the profound intricacies of the mind-body connection, reveal with compelling and undeniable clarity that the ultimate quality, the lasting impact, and indeed the precise energetic consequences of any human experience are profoundly and inextricably shaped, colored, and even determined by the prevailing state of mind, the internal landscape of thoughts, beliefs, and emotions that accompanies and infuses that experience. Consider, with a moment of careful, honest introspection, the specific act we are presently discussing in its various contexts. When this act is approached with a mind that is predominantly agitated, restless, scattered, fragmented, or filled with unexamined anxieties, unresolved fears, deeply ingrained insecurities, and powerfully clinging desires, the experience itself can easily devolve into a mere compulsion, a fleeting, almost mechanical and unconscious release of tension that offers little to no true nourishment, rejuvenation, or genuine satisfaction to the deeper self. In such instances, it may even leave behind a subtle, lingering, and corrosive residue of emptiness, a vague sense of dissatisfaction, or a quiet, gnawing sense of disquiet that subtly undermines our foundational sense of inner peace and well-being. The thoughts we habitually entertain and allow to roam freely, the mental imagery we consciously or more often unconsciously cultivate and dwell upon, the powerful emotional currents we permit to sweep through us, often unchecked during such deeply personal and energetically charged moments. These are not neutral, passive, or inconsequential passengers simply along for the ride. They are, in fact, highly active and profoundly influential participants, actively shaping the body's complex physiological and hormonal responses, influencing the subtle energetic currents within the organism, and ultimately determining the extent to which our precious vital energy is either respectfully engaged, harmonized, and perhaps even refined, or, conversely, heedlessly scattered, discordantly agitated, and potentially significantly diminished. If the mind, during these pivotal times, is predominantly occupied by crude, unrefined, or objectifying fantasies, by a desperate, almost frantic and insatiable seeking of sensation as a means of escape from underlying inner discomfort, unresolved emotional pain, or a pervasive sense of existential unease, or if it is clouded by deeply ingrained feelings of shame, guilt, self-reproach, or inadequacy, then the entire experience, including its energetic aftermath, becomes irrevocably colored, conditioned, and imprinted by these very states. The vital energy involved in the act is then, in a very real sense, impressed with these discordant qualities, and its subsequent expenditure can, through a subtle yet powerful feedback loop, serve to reinforce negative mental patterns, deepen addictive cravings and dependencies, or subtly yet persistently erode one's foundational self-respect, inner dignity, and sense of personal integrity. The profound secret, the truly transformative insight that countless individuals, looking back with the wisdom of years, wish with heartfelt sincerity they had understood, embraced, and diligently integrated much sooner in their lives, is the almost magical, life-altering power of consciously and consistently cultivating a mindful, intentional, serene, and lucidly aware state of mind in all aspects of life, most especially including this very personal, potent, and energetically significant one. This necessarily implies bringing a deliberate, unwavering quality of presence, of gentle, non-judgmental, and compassionate observation to the experience itself as it unfolds moment by moment. It involves courageously observing the arising and the eventual passing of desires, urges, and sensations without being immediately and unconsciously enslaved or carried away by them. It may even involve consciously and lovingly infusing the moment with a clear and noble intention that aligns harmoniously with one's deeper, more authentic values and aspirations, be it a quiet, heartfelt appreciation for the miracle and sacredness of one's own physical being, a sacred moment of profound self-connection, self-acceptance, and self-love, or simply a deep, abiding awareness and reverence for the precious life force itself as it moves dynamically within and through us. When the mind is relatively calm, clear, centered, lucid, and imbued with a genuine, unshakable sense of respect for oneself and for the potent, transformative energies involved, the experience can transform from a potentially depleting, distracting, or merely habitual act into one that is, at the very least, energetically neutral and harmless. And at its best, depending on the depth of one's cultivated practice, unwavering intention, and refined understanding, it can become subtly regenerative, profoundly insightful, deeply healing, or conducive to a state of sublime inner harmony, peace, and expanded consciousness. The poignant regret often expressed with such sincerity by those who look back from the elevated vantage point of accumulated years and hard-won experience frequently stems from the painful, sometimes shocking, realization that they unknowingly allowed an unexamined, untrained, undisciplined, and often chaotic or reactive mind to dictate powerful patterns of behavior that did not ultimately serve their holistic well-being, their highest potential, or their deepest spiritual aspirations. They see, often with a clarity that is both illuminating and sorrowful, vast stretches of time, perhaps years or even decades, where ingrained mental habits of intense craving, compulsive escapism, chronic distraction, or subtle self-sabotage were unconsciously and repeatedly reinforced and solidified through this intimate act, rather than courageously seizing it as a precious, sacred opportunity for cultivating greater self-awareness, conscious choice, energetic refinement, and spiritual evolution. To truly understand, internalize, and embody the profound ancient principle that the mind is the forerunner of all states, that it conditions our perceived reality and profoundly shapes the energetic imprint and karmic consequences of all our actions, is to hold a master key to profound, authentic, and lasting self-transformation. It extends a gentle yet firm, loving invitation to each and every one of us to become a more compassionate, diligent, and discerning observer of our own intricate inner mental landscape. It calls us to patiently, persistently, and lovingly cultivate a mind that serves not our fleeting whims, base desires, or conditioned fears, but rather our highest, most enduring, and most noble potential, thereby ensuring that even our most private, solitary moments are brought into beautiful, harmonious alignment with a path of ever-increasing clarity, unwavering balance, sustainable, deeply rooted inner strength, and genuine spiritual awakening. This sacred cultivation, this dedicated inner gardening of the mind, is not an overnight achievement or a quick fix, but rather a beautiful, challenging, and ultimately deeply rewarding lifelong journey of gentle yet firm discipline, ever-increasing lucidity, unwavering perseverance, and ever-deepening self-understanding and self-love. Rhythm sustains life. In our contemporary fast-paced global society, a world so often and intensely driven by the relentless, almost obsessive pursuit of quantification in all domains, by the seductive allure of externally defined benchmarks and standardized metrics, and by the subtle yet undeniably pervasive pressures of social comparison and competitive striving, it is remarkably, almost dangerously, easy to fall into the insidious and often misleading trap of measuring even the most intimate, nuanced, subtle, and deeply personal aspects of our lives against some perceived, often arbitrary and externally imposed norm or a rigidly fixed numerical target. This common tendency is particularly true and often particularly problematic and detrimental when we turn our attention to the delicate, complex, and highly individualized question of the optimal frequency of personal energetic expression and release, a domain where societal whispers, unspoken peer influences, the pervasive sensationalism of modern media, or even deliberately misleading or incomplete information propagated for various agendas can collectively create a palpable, often anxiety-inducing sense of obligation, inadequacy, or confusion. We might find ourselves inwardly or even outwardly wrestling with nagging, persistent questions such as, how often is considered too often, leading to depletion? Conversely, how often is deemed not enough, potentially leading to stagnation or frustration? Such questions, especially when they arise primarily from a place of anxious external searching, comparison with others, or adherence to rigid dogma, rather than from a grounded foundation of quiet inner listening, embodied self-awareness, and unwavering self-trust, can unfortunately lead us far astray from our own unique inherent and dynamically evolving embodied truth, our own intrinsic bodily wisdom and energetic requirements. The profound, life-affirming wisdom that many elders, reflecting with clarity and compassion on their long and varied life's journey, earnestly wish they had not only understood intellectually, but also more fully and consistently embodied much earlier in their lives, is the fundamental, liberating understanding that the human body, in its innate, often unerring and miraculous intelligence, possesses its own natural, inherent, and perfectly orchestrated rhythms. These are its own exquisitely tuned, individualized cycles of energetic accumulation, transformation, and appropriate expression, which are far more subtle, nuanced, adaptable, and dynamically responsive to our ever-changing inner and outer environment than any fixed predetermined number, externally imposed schedule or one-size-fits-all formula could ever hope to accurately capture, adequately accommodate, or wisely guide. This deeply personal, sacred inner rhythm is not a static, unchanging, or rigidly fixed entity. Rather, it is a dynamic, fluid, and ever-shifting energetic flow, influenced profoundly by a multitude of interconnected and interdependent factors. These include our chronological age and specific stage of life, our overall prevailing state of physical, mental, and emotional health, the subtle yet powerful shifts of the changing seasons and their distinct impact on our energy levels and bodily functions, our varying levels of daily physical exertion and mental activity, the predominant landscape of our emotional well-being and stress levels, and even the quality, nature, and energetic properties of our daily nourishment, hydration, and breathing patterns. To attempt, therefore, to rigidly force this delicate, intricate, and highly sensitive inner energetic system to conform unyieldingly to an inflexible, externally predetermined frequency of expression, whether that misguided attempt is driven by a hidden, unconscious desire to prove something to oneself or to others, to escape from underlying emotional discomfort or existential angst, or simply to meet some imagined, externally validated standard of normalcy or virility, is to inevitably create a significant internal dissonance, a subtle yet deeply felt form of inner violence enacted against the innate wisdom of our own sacred nature. This can, over time, lead to various energetic imbalances, chronic depletion, emotional frustration, and a pervasive sense of being fundamentally out of sync with oneself and with the natural flow of life. The true secret, the liberating and empowering insight in this crucial domain of self-stewardship, lies not in the futile, often anxiety-producing search for the right universal number or ideal frequency, but rather in the dedicated, patient, and loving cultivation of the profound, transformative, and often tragically neglected skill of deep, intuitive, and embodied listening. This involves learning to attune ourselves with exquisite sensitivity, unwavering presence, and profound respect to the subtle signals, the gentle whispers, the clear intuitions of our own unique body-mind temple. This, in turn, involves learning to discern with increasing clarity and confidence the crucial qualitative difference between a genuine organic impulse for energetic expression that arises naturally from a state of authentic fullness, vibrant vitality, true energetic readiness, and joyful overflow, and, on the other hand, a merely habitual conditioned craving, a manifestation of unresolved nervous tension seeking immediate but superficial release, or an urge born from underlying boredom, loneliness, emotional avoidance strategies, or a desire for mere distraction from deeper life issues. This refined practice of deep embodied listening requires sustained stillness, an unwavering patience with oneself and the process, a willingness to be radically honest, and a courageous commitment to compassionate, non-judgmental self-inquiry. It gently yet firmly asks us to move beyond the often loud, insistent, and distracting surface noise of fleeting desires, conditioned urges, and societal pressures, and to connect instead with a deeper, quieter, more reliable current of embodied wisdom, innate intelligence, and profound self-regulating capacity that resides peacefully within the sacred core of each and every one of us. When we truly learn to consciously honor and gracefully flow with this individualized, sacred inner rhythm, we discover a sustainable, joyful, and life-enhancing path. This is a way of engaging with our own precious, powerful energies that naturally supports, nourishes, and enhances our overall vitality, creativity, and holistic well-being, rather than systematically depleting it through unconscious, unmindful excess, or frustrating and stagnating it through undue, fear-based, or guilt-ridden suppression founded upon misunderstanding, misinformation, or rigid external doctrines. Those individuals who look back upon the tapestry of their lives with the illuminating clarity of accumulated experience and deep, honest reflection often recall, sometimes with a touch of sorrow or regret, extended periods where they either relentlessly and unwisely pushed their bodies and energetic systems far beyond their natural sustainable capacity, leading to pervasive feelings of exhaustion, burnout, adrenal fatigue, and profound depletion. Or conversely, they recall times where they rigidly, often shamefully or guiltily, suppressed natural, healthy, and appropriate expressions of their life force due to externally imposed moral codes, societal taboos, religious doctrines, or personal fears, leading to other, sometimes more insidious and complex, forms of energetic imbalance, inner conflict, emotional stagnation, or even physical ailments. They express a profound, heartfelt wish that they had learned to trust their own innate, intuitive inner guidance much more fully and consistently. They wish they had learned much sooner in their lives to gracefully, joyfully, and wisely dance with the natural, beautiful ebb and flow of their own unique life force, their personal energetic tides, rather than constantly attempting to rigidly control, forcefully dominate, or arbitrarily manipulate it through the blunt, insensitive, and ultimately ineffective instrument of fixed numbers, rigid rules, or external expectations. Embracing, honoring, and consciously cultivating one's own unique inherent energetic rhythm is therefore an act of profound self-respect, a powerful declaration of inner sovereignty and energetic autonomy, and an absolutely essential cornerstone of cultivating vibrant, sustainable, long-term energetic well-being, genuine self-expression, and deep inner peace. It represents a courageous, conscious movement away from the potential tyranny of external expectations, societal norms, and comparative judgments, and a profound, liberating step towards the inherent freedom, wisdom, and joy of authentic, intuitive self-regulation, guided always by an ever-deepening, ever-refining, and ever-trusting connection to the quiet, unwavering, and infinitely wise guidance held lovingly within the sacred temple of the body. Awareness cultivates being. As we continue to navigate the intricate, multifaceted, and often bewildering complexities inherent in the human experience, it becomes increasingly, undeniably apparent, especially with deeper, more sustained reflection and honest self-observation, that any powerful act, any profound engagement with our senses, our emotions, and our fundamental human energies can potentially serve as either a luminous transformative path toward greater self-understanding, genuine inner connection, authentic spiritual growth, and expanded consciousness, or if approached unconsciously, carelessly, or without mindful, discerning awareness, it can easily, almost imperceptibly, become a subtle yet potent means of escapism, a convenient, readily available way to temporarily numb ourselves to deeper, often uncomfortable, underlying discontents, unresolved emotional wounds, or profoundly unmet existential needs and longings. This most personal, private, and intimate act we are exploring in depth today is certainly no exception to this fundamental existential principle. Indeed, its very inherent potency, its privacy, and its deep connection to our core life force make this critical distinction between conscious engagement and unconscious habit all the more crucial, all the more significant for our long-term holistic well-being, our personal evolution, and the authentic unfolding of our unique human potential. When this act is engaged in without true presence, without clear intention, driven primarily by unexamined conditioned impulses, powerful instinctual urges, or when it is utilized as a habitual, almost reflexive, and often unconscious response to internal states such as pervasive stress, gnawing loneliness, chronic anxiety, persistent boredom, or a deep aching inner emptiness, it can inadvertently yet significantly and progressively create a subtle but increasingly pervasive disconnect from our true, authentic self, from that sacred, inviolable, and luminous core of our being, where genuine, lasting peace, unshakable fulfillment, profound meaning, and authentic, unconditional joy naturally and effortlessly reside, awaiting our conscious return. It can easily become a quick, superficial, and ultimately unsatisfying fix, a momentary, often illusory distraction that powerfully pulls our precious, limited attention relentlessly towards the mere surface of fleeting sensation, effectively luring us away from the often quieter, more challenging, yet ultimately far more rewarding and transformative inner work. This essential inner work includes truly understanding and skillfully navigating our complex emotions, courageously and compassionately addressing our fundamental relational needs for love and belonging, or diligently, passionately, and purposefully pursuing our authentic, soul-aligned purpose and unique contribution in this precious human life. The profound, life-altering secret, the illuminating and empowering insight that countless individuals, reflecting from the vantage point of later life, wish with all their hearts, with every fiber of their being, they had grasped, fully understood, and meaningfully integrated much earlier on their life's sacred journey, is the inherent, always available, transformative potential to consciously shift this very act. To move it from being a possible source of inner disconnection, energetic depletion, or mere fleeting superficial gratification into a sacred conscious opportunity for cultivating deeper self-awareness, profound self-acceptance, radical self-love, and a powerful, unwavering affirmation of one's intrinsic, unconditional worth and inherent goodness. If, and only if, it is approached with genuine, embodied presence, clear, noble intention, and a spirit of gentle, compassionate, and non-judgmental inquiry. This does not, by any means, necessitate that this deeply personal act must become an overly solemn, joyless, rigidly ritualized, or excessively intellectualized affair. Rather, it simply means that we can consciously choose, moment by moment, to bring a consistent, unwavering quality of mindful, loving, and compassionate observation to it as it unfolds within our experience. We can patiently learn to simply notice, without immediate judgment, condemnation, or reactive attachment, the various desires, urges, and sensations that arise within us. We can observe the specific thoughts, memories, and mental images that accompany them, the subtle or strong feelings and emotions that stir within our hearts, our minds, and our bodies, all with a gentle, accepting, and profound curiosity, as if observing a natural, universal phenomenon with scientific objectivity and heartfelt compassion. We can then begin to gently, courageously ask ourselves, from a place of sincere, open-hearted inquiry, what am I truly, deeply, authentically seeking in this present moment through this particular act? Is this specific expression, in this specific way, aligning harmoniously and congruently with my most cherished, deeply held values, with the kind of wise, compassionate, and integrated person I authentically aspire to become and embody in this world? Is it genuinely nourishing me on a holistic level that transcends the purely physical? Or is it perhaps subtly, almost imperceptibly, depleting my precious inner resolve, my vital spiritual energy, my core motivation to engage with the fullness of life more courageously, authentically, and meaningfully? If this intimate, personal practice becomes a primary, almost exclusive, or heavily relied upon means of self-soothing, emotional regulation, or stress management, if it becomes a constant, habitual retreat from the inherent challenges, responsibilities, growth opportunities, and beautiful possibilities that life invariably and generously presents, it then seriously risks becoming a comfortable, familiar, yet ultimately limiting and disempowering gilded cage. It offers fleeting, superficial comfort and temporary escape at the potentially devastating and tragic cost of genuine personal growth, authentic human connection, meaningful contribution, and the courageous, joyful blossoming of our unique, God-given potential. This includes deep, meaningful connection with others on an emotional and spiritual level, profound connection with our own deeper aspirations, dreams, and innate wisdom, and, most importantly, an unwavering connection with the quiet, ever-present, and inexhaustible wellspring of innate joy, peace, and unconditional love that exists eternally and independently of any external stimuli, sensory gratification, or fleeting circumstance. The poignant, heartfelt regret, often voiced with such profound sincerity and clarity in later years, is not necessarily, or even primarily, about the act itself in its fundamental essence or biological function. Rather, it is more profoundly about the unlived life, the missed opportunities for deeper engagement and authentic fulfillment, the unfulfilled potential that may have inadvertently, yet consequentially, resulted from consistently, unconsciously using it as a convenient, readily available substitute for more meaningful, though perhaps more demanding and vulnerable, forms of human experience and spiritual nourishment. A substitute for bravely, compassionately facing and integrating difficult emotions, a substitute for patiently, lovingly building and nurturing resilient, authentic, and mutually supportive relationships, or a substitute for passionately, courageously pursuing creative endeavors, spiritual practices, and life purposes that require sustained effort, unwavering commitment, profound vulnerability, and a deep trust in life itself. The gentle yet profoundly transformative invitation, therefore, that echoes from the wisdom of the ages is to conscientiously, lovingly, and wisely ensure that this deeply personal, powerful, and sacred aspect of our shared humanity is integrated consciously, gracefully, and harmoniously into the larger, richer, and more meaningful tapestry of our lives. It should ideally serve, perhaps, as a healthy reminder of our inherent vitality, our capacity for pleasure, and our connection to the life force, but not as a primary, ongoing, or unconscious refuge from the soul's persistent, loving call to courageously become our fullest, most authentic, most compassionate, and most divinely expressed selves. It is fundamentally, at its core, about ensuring that our private, internal expressions of self, our inner world, do not inadvertently hinder, undermine, or sabotage our public, outer expressions of purpose, kindness, service, creativity, and meaningful connection to the world around us and to the divine source of all being. Rather, these inner and outer worlds should exist in a beautiful, supportive, synergistic harmony with each other, fostering a life lived with unwavering integrity, profound self-awareness, boundless compassion, and an ever-deepening, ever-expanding, and ever-joyful sense of who we truly are at our core essence, divine beings having a rich human experience. Longevity through wisdom. Finally, as our collective exploration draws thoughtfully towards its natural culmination, we arrive at a comprehensive, unifying perspective, a wider, more encompassing lens that lovingly and skillfully integrates all that we have diligently discussed thus far. This perspective skillfully weaves these individual, seemingly disparate threads of insight, understanding, and practice into a larger, more cohesive and profoundly practical understanding of a life lived not just long, but lived well. A life characterized by enduring, vibrant vitality, profound embodied wisdom, a quiet, unshakable inner peace, and a radiant, compassionate presence that benefits all beings. The mindful, conscious management and ever-deepening understanding of this most personal, often sacred, and energetically potent aspect of our complex human experience is not, as some might mistakenly believe or superficial teachings might suggest, an isolated, compartmentalized, or peripheral concern in the grand scheme of a well-lived life. Nor is it merely a matter confined to the often confusing explorations of youth, the hormonal adjustments of middle age, or the specific concerns of urologists. Instead, it forms an absolutely integral, indispensable, and foundational part of a holistic, comprehensive, and truly lifelong path. This is the path toward consciously, diligently cultivating, patiently preserving, and wisely, lovingly stewarding our precious vital energy, our Jing, our innate clarity of mind and luminous awareness, our Shen, our emotional equilibrium, resilience, and compassion, our Qi in its harmonious flow, and our overall spiritual luminosity and connection to the Tao well into our later, golden years. This cultivation allows us to age not just with mere grace or resignation, but with genuine radiance, profound wisdom, continued creativity, and an undiminished capacity for joy, love, and meaningful contribution. The profound secrets we have gently touched upon and explored in our shared time together today are not, in their truest essence, quick fixes, clever behavioral techniques, superficial life hacks, or easily adopted and discarded fads to be casually implemented without deeper understanding or commitment. Rather, they represent profound, fundamental and potentially life-altering shifts in our core awareness, our fundamental perception of ourselves and our energies. They are gentle yet powerful, loving invitations to cultivate a more conscious, respectful, intimate, and deeply loving relationship with our own miraculous bodies, our often untamed yet brilliant minds, and our invaluable, irreplaceable energetic resources, which are, in the most profound sense, the very currency of life itself, the sacred fuel for our earthly journey. The overarching, timeless, and universally applicable wisdom that many wise elders, looking back over the vast and varied landscape of their completed or concluding journeys, earnestly, often passionately, wish they had not only intellectually understood, but also deeply, consistently, and joyfully embodied from a much earlier stage in their personal evolution and spiritual development, is the clear, unwavering, and irrefutable recognition that wise, conscious, and loving stewardship of one's generative power, one's core life force, often referred to in ancient Taoist and other wisdom traditions as Jing, the foundational essence, is an absolutely foundational, non-negotiable pillar, supporting not just robust, enduring physical health and longevity, but also sustained mental acuity and creativity, profound emotional stability and resilience, and deep, authentic spiritual depth, insight, and connection throughout one's entire lifespan. It is absolutely crucial to understand, with both mind and heart, that this profound perspective is not about advocating for a path of extreme, unnatural, life-denying asceticism, nor conversely is it an endorsement or justification for unchecked, mindless, or hedonistic indulgence. Both of these extreme approaches, in their own distinct yet equally imbalanced ways, can inevitably lead to significant energetic depletion, psycho-spiritual imbalance, and a tragic deviation from the path of true, sustainable well-being and authentic fulfillment. Rather, the sacred path of authentic wisdom, often referred to as the middle way, lies in discerningly, intuitively finding and consistently, flexibly maintaining a dynamic, individualized, and joyfully embraced balance. This is a way of being in the world that deeply honors, respects, and celebrates our natural human design, our inherent needs for pleasure, connection, and expression, while simultaneously and with equal importance, recognizing, revering, and cherishing the profound preciousness, the sacredness, and the ultimately finite nature within this lifetime of the vital energies with which we are each uniquely and generously gifted at birth, and which we are called to steward wisely. This necessarily, practically means diligently integrating the core understandings we have so carefully explored. The profound truth of our sexual energy being far more than mere physical fluid, but a potent spiritual essence. The immense, almost magical shaping power of the mind over all our experiences and their energetic consequences. The critical importance of attuning to and honoring one's unique, innate personal rhythm rather than adhering to rigid external dictates or societal pressures. And the profound spiritual imperative of cultivating true, deep, authentic self-connection and self-love into a single, cohesive, seamlessly integrated, and joyfully lived daily approach to life. It means clearly seeing, deeply feeling, and consistently acting upon the understanding of how our choices in this most intimate and energetically charged sphere of our lives ripple outwards, often in unseen yet powerful ways, affecting our fundamental resilience to stress and adversity, our capacity for deep, focused, creative work and meaningful contribution, our ability to maintain emotional poise, compassion, and loving presence in the face of life's inevitable challenges, and even the subtle yet palpable luster, radiance, and magnetism of our spirit as we navigate the natural, unavoidable process of aging. Those wise souls who look back upon their lives with the hard-won, illuminating clarity of accumulated experience, deep, honest reflection, and perhaps some poignant regret, often express a profound, heartfelt longing to have truly, deeply understood and consistently applied this essential long-term, holistic perspective much, much sooner in their earthly sojourn. They wish, often with a touch of profound sorrow for lost time and squandered potential, that they had viewed their intrinsic vitality, their sexual energy, not as an inexhaustible, endlessly renewable resource to be casually, thoughtlessly, or recklessly spent, squandered, or abused in the impulsive passions and ignorance of youth, but rather as a sacred, inner alchemical fire. A fire to be lovingly, patiently tended, diligently, skillfully cultivated, wisely, consciously conserved, and purposefully, creatively directed throughout their entire lifespan. The profound aspiration, then, is that this carefully nurtured inner fire might burn ever more brightly, steadily, warmly, and purely, illuminating their later years not with shadows of regret, depletion, or bitterness, but with the golden light of profound wisdom, deep inner peace, unwavering serenity, and a sustained, vibrant sense of inner aliveness, joy, and profound connection to all of life and to the divine source. The sacred lifelong journey of cultivating true longevity. Longevity not just of years, but of vitality, wisdom, and love, is one of continuous humble learning, of gentle, compassionate self-correction when we inevitably stray from our path, and of ever-deepening respect, awe, and gratitude for the intricate, breathtaking, and miraculous marvel that is our human existence in all its complexity and beauty. It gently yet firmly requires us to consciously, courageously move beyond the seductive, often deceptive allure of short-term gratification, fleeting pleasures, and instant fixes, and to courageously, joyfully embrace a far grander, more inspiring, and infinitely more fulfilling vision of holistic well-being. This is a vision that gracefully, powerfully spans not just fleeting days or weeks, but entire decades, even a whole precious lifetime. It is built solidly upon the foundational, unwavering understanding that the small, seemingly insignificant, yet conscious and intentional choices we make today in the quietude, privacy, and sanctity of our inner lives are the very potent seeds from which the strength, the clarity, the resilience, the wisdom, and the serenity of our future selves will inevitably, inexorably grow, blossom, and bear fruit. This, in its profound essence, is the ultimate integration, the sacred alchemy, the point where profound self-awareness, deep wisdom, and heartfelt love translate seamlessly, effortlessly, and joyfully into daily actions, thoughts, and intentions that honor, cherish, and celebrate the sacred gift of life in its magnificent, multifaceted, and divine entirety, leading ultimately to a life not just passively lived, but actively, consciously, and beautifully co-created with spirit, a life of depth, purpose, joy, and an enduring, radiant light that blesses all. The path to understanding the depths of our own being, to truly knowing the sacred landscape within, is often a quiet, introspective, and deeply personal pilgrimage. It is walked not with grand external pronouncements, ostentatious displays, or dramatic gestures that seek validation from the world, but rather with humble, consistent, moment-to-moment steps of mindful awareness, courageous self-honesty, and gentle, unwavering self-compassion. Each insight gleaned along this precious way, each flicker of understanding, much like the reflections we have shared and contemplated together in this sacred space today, is akin to a precious, warmly glowing lantern offered to illuminate your unique, unfolding, and sacred journey through life. It is never, ever about harsh judgment, condemnation, or regret concerning the past. For every experience, every perceived misstep, every challenge faced, has undoubtedly been a potent teacher in its own right, offering invaluable lessons, pearls of wisdom that shape our character and deepen our understanding if only we are open, willing, and receptive to receiving them with gratitude. It is instead profoundly and fundamentally about bringing greater illumination, enduring clarity, transformative warmth, and loving guidance to the path that stretches out before you, a path filled with infinite possibility and potential. It is a gentle, loving, and persistent invitation from your own higher self, from the universe itself, to consciously cultivate a deeper, more resonant, and more exquisitely beautiful harmony within the intricate, divine orchestra of your own being. It is a call to cherish, protect, and wisely steward the subtle, life-giving, and sacred energies that animate your every thought, your every feeling, and your every action. And it is an encouragement to walk forward from this very moment, from this very breath, with a renewed, invigorated sense of authentic purpose, an unshakable inner resolve rooted in self-knowledge, and a profound, abiding respect and reverence for the precious, miraculous gift of life that flows so generously, so abundantly, and so lovingly through you, as you, and for you. May you find within these shared reflections, these whispered truths from ancient wisdom, a deep and inexhaustible source of enduring strength, a gentle yet persistent call to embrace the noble art of compassionate self-mastery and conscious evolution, and the quiet, unassuming, yet profoundly satisfying joy that inevitably, beautifully arises from living in ever closer, ever more truthful, and ever more loving alignment with your own deepest, most authentic, and most divine truths. The journey, remember always with a peaceful heart, is uniquely and magnificently yours, and it is always, in every precious unfolding moment, beautifully, mysteriously, and perfectly guided. This exploration was profoundly deep and resonated on so many levels. The idea of essence over act particularly stands out, shifting the focus from a mere physical release to the stewardship of vital energy. It makes me reevaluate a lot. For those who have been on this path of conscious cultivation for a while, what was the first secret or shift in understanding that truly made a tangible difference in your daily energy and overall well-being? Curious to hear about those initial turning points.